Welcome to Pause Button with Storytime Gamer and Bob,
a weekly podcast covering gaming news, reviews, and all things geek.
I'm your host, Storytime Gamer, also known as Eric, and I stream a variety of games on my YouTube channel, Storytime Gamer, with a focus on story-driven games, role-playing, and horror games. I also love anything from 80s and 90s pop culture.
And I'm Bob, bringing you the games you can chill to. Survival crafting, factory management, and open world RPGs. Anything you can play while listening to a podcast, an audiobook, or watching Netflix.
Send us your thoughts, ideas, and reactions to emails at pausebuttongaming.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast so you always have the latest episode for when you need to step back from life and press pause.
All right, let's get to the show. Eric, that energy drink seems to be working for you.
All I can think about is I watched that stupid Beavis and Butthead movie, the new one. And, you know, when he's going... You've seen Beavis and Butthead, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, when he's
I've seen the new one.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I saw the new one, and it's been forever since I saw the old one, so I had to watch that, too. But it's when it's Beavis, you know, going off of the rails, going, I am Cornholio. I need teepee for my bunghole. And, you know, that's all I can think about when someone wigs out.
I turned on, just for the first maybe 20 minutes, the new South Park one about, it's kind of a spoof of NFTs, and they have Matt Damon doing Fortune Favors the Bold as he drinks pee-pee water. Have you seen this one?
Mm-mm. That sounds hilarious, though. I mean, it's funny.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is a takedown of NFTs and cryptocurrency.
See, what's funny about that is whenever he did the Fortune's Favor the Bold commercial, all I could think about was Matt Damon from Team America. World Police.
Oh.
So I actually made a GIF. I'll have to find it, but it was the crypto.com symbol over his head, and it says Matt Damon. It's just a GIF.
Well, they have. What's funny about this, and it's better just to go find the little clips that people have pulled out on Twitter, but you can, in the episode, they have a number of celebrities who are pushing pee-pee water. So in the show, the town is going through a drought. They run out of water. And so someone says, oh, well, we can drink urine and use it for, you know, showers and stuff like that. And so they have all these celebrities that are selling it. So they got Gwyneth Paltrow, Reese Witherspoon, drinking, bathing in urine. And it is a stand-in for crypto.
That's hilarious. Well, I love South Park because the thing about comedy to survive nowadays, and I think it's been a good general rule of thumb to survive anytime. Because, you know, comedians are getting, hated on for one thing or another. Like, oh, you're just persecuting this one group. It's like, well, if you make fun of everybody, you cannot be said that you're going after one group. And that's why I love South Park, is because they will keep going after everybody.
Yeah.
And that's perfect.
It's great. Yeah.
So Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I am riding on something called Death Wish coffee this morning. It's billed as the world's strongest coffee. It has a warning label on it. So I am raring to go.
Is it really like a Surgeon General's warning?
No. It's a marketing thing.
Oh, well, I mean, well, how many milligrams of caffeine does it have compared to a normal, like, Folgers or, like, Starbucks ground coffee?
I really don't know. I'd have to go get the bag. It's just dark. It's a dark roasted coffee.
You see, what's funny? I love coffee too, but it's summer and it's too damn hot. So I've gone after these zero sugar energy drinks, which I'm very picky about what's in them. And it's the Zoa from The Rock, his stuff. And it's got a lot of vitamins in it. It's got no sugars, like 3 grams of carb for a whole can, which is really good. Just a little high on the sodium, just 200 milligrams, but it's got a lot of vitamins and everything else. It's got 160 milligrams of caffeine, which I looked it up, and it's about 92 milligrams for an average cup of coffee. So it's got, a little over one cup, which is what I need. And I sip it in the mornings, and it's so nice when it's hot outside to have something that's like a cooler beverage without necessarily drinking a soda. So that's why I go with that. But I'll have to get myself some of the Death Wish for when it gets colder and you need that hot cup of joe.
They got it at Kroger.
Ooh, Kroger. We are not sponsored by Kroger. Maybe Kroger, if you're listening, you want to be a sponsor of our podcast, please reach out to us. So what's funny, I'm a nerd. You know this. Everyone who's listened to this knows this.
You are?
Yeah. What I like to do when it comes to doing adult things like grown-ups, like especially with home
Adulting.
ownership, I like to say I get XP for doing said activity when I don't have to call a professional to come and do it.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, I just got XP, and I've decided that the more I do that one task, my XP goes down, because it's just like with any game, you get less XP for doing the same task over and over because, okay, you're experiencing it.
Oh.
So this past weekend, I did 3 things that were, I would say, XP worthy. Just yesterday, the first thing I did was mow the lawn, which that's going to give me like 1 XP for mowing.
That's
the
called
lawn.
grinding.
Yeah, that's grinding.
Yeah.
But it's something I have to do. So I was like, all right, fine. But then I also had to change the toilet pump flush out of one of my toilets because it was leaking.
That's like a mini boss.
Yeah, well, see, and that's funny. It's like the 3rd one I've replaced in my house. And it's to a point where I couldn't figure out where the leak was coming from. And then I kind of analyzed my toilet tank and saw that, okay, the water pump wasn't turning off or stopping the water from filling up in the tank. And so it was escaping through the handle, which was weird because I just made sure it wasn't leaking anywhere else from all the other pieces that go together.
It was escaping through the handle.
Yeah, escaping through the handle. It was dripping in and just going everywhere. I was like, oh, I can't handle this, because I hate when water leaks, and I hate when I have to fix something and it's either going to cost, a couple $100 with a plumber coming out or something. Yeah. So I spent $11 on a new pump, which it's the 2nd time I've replaced it on this particular toilet. So either I got a bad brand the first time, or I just use that toilet too much. I don't know.
So maybe try eating less fiber,
I guess. So I put it together and I was like, all right, how many XP do I get for this? Like, well, this is the 3rd time I've done it. So I think a 50 XP was worth the number for replacing it, since I did it myself, fixed it, and I didn't have to get a professional in. And then I mounted a small TV to the wall, which would be, let's see, how many times have I done it? I've done it about 3 times, but since it was a small one,
that's not that hard.
It's not hard, but still, I consider it doing something.
If you mounted a TV to your toilet, then I think that would be worth a lot of XP.
Well, see, I don't have to do that. I've got my cell phone.
Everybody does it. No one wants to talk about it.
Well, I am not afraid to admit that I bring my phone to the toilet. It is the best companion compared to those books they used to push. That was the toilet reading book.
What's your preferred toilet game?
Well, Spider Solitaire.
Okay.
Or and there are occasions where the switch has to go in.
Right.
Just saying.
Right. The switch is great because it wakes from sleep. It picks up right where you were. Yep. And you could play Rogue Book for 5 minutes or 25 minutes if you've got a big...
got some problems.
There's a lot of work to do in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but recently, definitely I would say Rogue Book or Slay the Spire or even Turtles. Ninja Turtles has been very helpful in those times of patience and derelict duty to oneself.
Duty. You said duty.
Okay, so what's going on in the news this week, Bob?
The news.
Well, actually,
you were going to talk. Yeah, you were going to talk to me about Vampire Survivors. I actually haven't seen this story.
I know. I was so proud. I snagged this news article before you got to it. I was like, ha ha. So they have a final boss finally, apparently, and I didn't realize this game was still in beta. It hadn't had a full launch, so I'm very curious to see what it's like when it's fully launched. Yeah. Apparently, when you get to the very last level, Capella Magna, you survive for the 30 minutes, which that's for this game. If y'all haven't played it yet, it's bullet hell, but backwards, because you're the one giving bullet hell to all the monsters. Very Castlevania-like. It's very addictive for it being so simple.
It's a great game.
And for the $3, my God, it is so worth it. Or $5. I think I had paid $5 for it originally. But anyway, so you get to it, and then the final boss shows up, and it's just death. And according to this Kotaku article, or at least it's Kotaku reporting from a Polygon story. So this is the 3rd time it's been regurgitated. If you survive to the 30-minute mark, all the stage's enemies all coalesce, Voltron style, into a giant reaper. and that's the final boss.
Okay. In the game right now, the death comes along, but he kills you. You can't defeat him. I mean, I think some people have figured out a way to, but it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So I guess now, I think that was just kind of a stand-in for a final boss. It looks like they've finally got a real boss in.
Yeah, because it's like that factory level. You're running around and death will show up, and you just kind of have to run away from him, which was kind of annoying. But it's like, all right, I got it. Let's go. Can't run away from death.
I have set this game aside because I want to wait. I kind of want to wait for them to finish it because I've played through it once already and it wasn't done. But also, I want to play it on my Steam Deck. This is a perfect chill game for a back porch or being on a plane or just sitting on the couch. But I don't want to sit at my computer and play it. I really want to play it with a handheld.
No, it's very much.
It's going to be great on Steam Deck. It's going to be fantastic.
I'm sure there'll be a Switch port at some point too. I can't imagine.
Surely.
It's too perfect.
Yeah, it'd be great. It would be great. Have you looked at this trailer for Steel Rising?
Yes, I have been following it since it got like teased months ago.
Yeah, they're kind of calling it a blatant ripoff of the Souls type games just because the combat is very Soulsy.
Yep.
But I like the kind of steampunk thing they've got, that Victorian era kind of feel to it. Looks really interesting. I don't think the combat's it's not going to be Elden Ring level combat.
Oh,
but,
no.
It might be fun.
Yeah, I saw some reviews and some people playing, I guess, some early access footage or game type of it, and it varies Bloodborne esque, and it's like steampunk, like you said. I think it's like in France it takes place.
I think so.
It's one of those things like it's when everyone starts copying everybody else's homework or just trying to get on that trend. Even if you do it from a passion standpoint, I feel like you're not helping out in your gaming community or for yourself as a game developer. I think Star Wars Fallen Order was one of the better amalgamations of things we liked in video games without it feeling like regurgitated and repetitive. But when you're like, okay, go ahead.
That's a great, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a great example of taking things from a game. I mean, yeah, they're copying it, I guess you could say, but they repurposed it in a way that made the game better. I mean, better than any Star Wars lightsaber combat had ever been. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping they'll do that here.
Right. And then there's like Mortal Shell, which has gotten pretty popular. I still haven't played it.
Has it really?
Yeah, it feels like it's got popular, and it's kind of it survived because it actually took a mechanic and made it its own, where you get hit once and then you're like, or you have a couple hit points, and then when you get to the last hit point, you're knocked out of your armor, and then you have some time to get back to your armor before you're like killed. So
I downloaded Mortal Shell back after it came out. I never played it. It was like, I want to play Elden Ring, but Elden Ring wasn't out. So I thought maybe this will tide me over. I had not heard that it was doing well. It's got mostly positive reviews on Steam.
Yeah, it's pretty popular. It had a PS5 upgrade. I'm sure I'm not sure I guess it's on Xbox as well. I guess it has the new Xbox Series upgrade to it as well. It seemed popular enough that it still survives and pops up. HBO has a trailer out for a new documentary about finding love and living in the VR.
Yeah, tell me about this.
So I watched the trailer for it, and y'all should check it out as well. I'm going to watch it just because it seems fascinating, because we were just talking about metaverse, and this is kind of what I think the metaverse is, what we want it to be, where it's people meeting up and living together in a virtual world. And so the premise is it was filmed entirely inside the world of virtual reality, this documentary. So it's a documentary. So these real people, real footage. This is all happening in the VR world. It's during the COVID-19 lockdowns. People, there's like schools in there. We follow this person named Jenny, an American Sign Language teacher dedicated to building a welcoming community for deaf and hard of hearing VR chat users, and two long-distance couples growing their relationships in VR.
What VR game are they playing, or what are they in?
It's VR chat, apparently.
Okay.
I guess it's one of those. I haven't looked to see if that's a default or you have to buy it, but it looks pretty. Like you use the hand controls and it's mimicking your movements, and you move your head. The character looks like they're moving their head, so it looks pretty immersive. And I can't believe that you could get stuck in that world very easily.
God, it reminds me of back in the late 90s. It was a virtual world, I guess, but everybody was like a third person. It was a third person, and you could chat. I think it was text chat. I don't think it was voice chat. But there was you had a huge amount of freedom on what kind of like physical form you could take. And so you're like, or everything you could imagine was out there.
Yeah.
And people just started there text chatting.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
Well, I mean, they just announced it. It comes out in a couple months.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm excited to see it. Just curious from a filmmaker standpoint of using another medium to capture it. Just kind of like when you had Halo was used to make the Rooster Teeth show. You were able to use a video game as your medium to record a whole show.
Oh, those are great. Red versus Blue.
Yeah, I loved Red versus Blue.
Great.
Yes, I still quote it. Running.
Are you going to... Have you watched the trailer for Cyberpunk Edge Runners?
I haven't.
I'm curious. Is this Netflix? I'm curious what you think about it. It's very anime. It's probably too anime for me, but you also liked Cyberpunk more than I did. And so, yeah, it is Netflix.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if you're going to like it.
Yeah, and I'm reserved because I'm kind of like, y'all need to be focusing on y'all's games instead of trying to branch off into this other stuff. And I know Cyberpunk's a tabletop game or RPG book, all that other stuff. So this might be helpful might be loved by those people as well before CD Projekt Red came out and did their game. But I don't know. I just wish they'd focus on what they need to do. And it might be a good adaptation for a show in that world. Which is something we should talk about in the future, is about video games that are adapted into like TV shows and movies. I'd be curious to put this in there and see how faithful it is, or if it's just really like, why did you do this? Because you have things like Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, I mean, their take on Cyberpunk is that kind of electronica, hard rock electronica music and the anime stuff, and that's fine if that's what you're into. I like my Cyberpunk a little bit more realistic, a little bit darker. There's like blood flying everywhere, and I don't know. It's probably not going to be for me.
Not for Bob.
But I'm curious what you think about it.
But see, you like Love, Death, and Robots, though.
Yes, but not the anime ones. I like the
one it's
like
more
the Cthulhu one. Well, that's why I like the Crab one so much, because it's just very gritty and people behave in a way that is believable. They're not running around like cartoon characters.
I see what you're saying. So when it's more grounded but animated, that's one thing versus, they're jumping up high and gaining levels and hair turning blonde and throwing energy blasts. That's where
I would prefer that it wasn't animated. I would prefer to see the Crab one as a live action.
Oh, yeah, no, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. So I have good news and bad news.
Hit me.
Well, I got my God of War Collector's Edition pre-ordered, which I didn't realize it was going to be such a tough thing to do. It was the day that the pre-orders were up, which was this past Friday, the 15th of July. And
which one did you get?
Well, I only was able to get the Collector's Edition because the Jotnar Edition, which is the big one, I was trying to get that one, had sold out immediately. But here's the kicker, and here's where I'm really pissed. It is the whole scalper reseller bullshit that happened with the PS5s and the Xboxes.
That's the world we live in now.
I know, and it's just and I'm curious to see if Sony will crack down on these people, because it's already ridiculous. You can go online and see that the people are doubling the price or more for the special edition. And the biggest thing between the collector's edition and this Jotnar edition, other than $60, is more physical collectible items, which are great. There's like a map, there's a ring, there's like these little pin sets. And I was glad it was only just that, because I'm still getting the collector's edition, which I get the hammer, Thor's hammer. I get some cosmetics in the game, which I don't like using the cosmetics that come in a game when it's like, I like using the default costumes.
Me too.
And stuff, because like, here's the story you're giving me. I'll see what it is. So I'll probably put them on for 2 seconds just to see them, but I don't want to play the game with the cosmetics, because then I feel like the story is going to have a different feel to it.
Yep, I feel exactly the same way.
So like, I'm glad to have it, but then I won't use them. But then but what's funny is that they both come with the steel case, but they actually did say you don't get a disc. Which I'm just like, why are we still getting steel cases without a disc? This is the whole thing I was griping about with Horizon Forbidden West. I got the collector's edition with the steel case, but no disc.
let me make a point about this, because there's a lot of outrage in the video game ecosystem right now about there not being a disc. Okay, if you get a disc, you're going to put it in there. It's going to install to your system, and then you have to leave the disc in to play it.
Right.
But what are you going to do with that case? You're going to stick it on your shelf as a display item with all your other games. So what difference does it really make? I don't want to have a disc in there. It means every time I want to play it, I got to go get the disc and put it in. I don't care about the disc.
Right. Okay.
I don't need a disc.
Fair point.
It is kind of nice, but a lot of people have video game collections that they have on their shelf, and they want to have a physical representation of it. So
yeah, exactly. You want to have that disc because there's disc art, and that's part of the whole art display. I mean, even the box.
Well, you want the case. You're putting the case on display. You're not putting the disc on display.
Well, no. You have the middle case. You open up the case. You got the game disc in there, and then you've got like the whole set. Now it feels like you don't have the whole art display. So I'll probably have.
We're not getting discs anymore. So you disc people, you got to get over it. I can tell you a game that I'm probably not going to want the disc or the digital, and that is Lord of the Rings Gollum.
Oh yeah.
Gameplay reveal trailer came out this week. Did you see it?
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts, okay, now I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so you can serve up almost anything, and I will be interested in it. I like even bad Lord of the Rings games, and I just thought, I don't want to watch Gollum crawl around on all fours for several hours. This would be an interesting, 3-hour mini game or something, maybe, but I certainly don't want to spend 15, 16, 20 hours crawling around as Gollum. I don't know who wants this. Give me a Legolas game. Give me a
that'd be good.
Give me a Gandalf game. Who is asking for this?
Yeah, everyone who's like, oh, I just want to crawl around and sneak as Gollum and then look up his butt flat for 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yeah.
I watched it. First of all, it doesn't have Andy Serkis as the voice. That's the big thing that is like, no. Which
the voice actor was good, but it wasn't Andy Serkis.
Well, but it's one thing when you get, okay, Joker is going to be voiced by Troy Baker. It's like, okay, but then he starts talking like, oh God, you did pretty good for a Mark Hamill Joker voice. You that's deserving. But when it's so off base and it doesn't even sound like Gollum, it's not good. Like, I do a good Gollum impression, I think. Hold on. Me.
Let's hear it.
Oh, we need the precious, because it is ours. No, don't give it to the hobbitses, those nasty, filthy hobbitses. No, they're our friends. They'll be nice to us.
They could hire me, and I would do it for cheaper.
That's good.
Thank you.
That was really good.
Thank you. I've been practicing that since the Two Towers came out. And I feel...
I was going to do one, but not now.
Oh, well, no, go ahead. Come on.
No. That's okay. The only thing I can say is
the fat hobbit. The fat one.
The fat one knows.
It just not having the right voice actor or even having a voice that sounds close to it is kind of a big turnoff. But then watching the gameplay feels like this is something that should have come out for the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3. And that's, to me, I feel like, okay, y'all are off the mark. Whoever greenlit this project, WTF, mate. And I'm surprised
you missed the window by about 8 years. Sorry.
Yeah, when they've got the new Lord of the Rings show coming out, and it's like, okay, we're doing a stealth game with Gollum. That really, really
show us an interesting mechanic. I mean, maybe there could be a mechanic where he turns invisible or something. I don't know, but it's just like creeping from shadow to shadow. Well, we've done that. Yeah. We've done that so many times.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. But I'll tell you what, a game that I am excited about, and I'll bet you've never played a Company of Heroes game, have you?
No.
Company of Heroes is a real-time, top-down, real-time strategy game. RTSs are they coming back? I mean, Dune Spice Wars, which we'll talk about in a bit, is a classic feeling kind of RTS, but I don't feel like they've been making RTSs. Company of Heroes is a triple A top notch RTS. It was a fantastic game. It kind of evolved into a squad based RTS, and Company of Heroes 3 looks incredible. They got this whole destruction mechanic where every building on the map is like fully destructible, and every little brick and like furniture inside the house can like come, exploding out if it gets hit by a tank or something. Really just a fun game. I can't wait for it. It comes out November 17th.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, there needs to be more real-time strategy, in my opinion. I like those games. I think they're great. It's great if you can take that formula and rework it.
RTS has kind of evolved into MOBAs. So instead of like having a little army you controlled, you had a squad you controlled, and that's what happened with Company of Heroes. And I wasn't really that interested in that, but it looks like they may be going back to the original formula here.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I really liked We Are Billions, because it was so StarCraft inspired real-time strategy. And they hit it well. And
that's a good game.
They had a sequel come out. I haven't been able to play it yet, but it's kind of like a medieval version of it.
Really?
Yeah, you should check it out. I have it on my Steam wish list. Hold on, give me a second.
They Are Billions 2?
Age of Darkness, Final Stand.
Okay.
At least it looked like it was from the same people that did it. Developers called Playside. It seemed like maybe they got inspired by We Are Billions. But whenever I watched it, the trailer for it, and someone play it, it's like, wow, this is like We Are Billions, but medieval. This week, Netflix released the Resident Evil TV series. Have you had a chance to look at it?
No, I'm not a Resident Evil person. I was waiting for you to tell me.
Well, you might like it. It's funny how divisive, is that the right word? It is, because there's people on one side saying it's horrible because XYZ, because they're fans of the games, and there's people saying it's awesome because they're fans of the games. I'm a fan of the game, and they've changed characters, ethnicity, gender, things like that, and it's a whole new story, which it needs it at this point after the Mila Djokovic movies and the reboot movie they just put out last year, and then actually there was an animated TV series that came out this time last year on Netflix too. It needed a rebranding, relaunch, and I haven't finished it, but right now I'm saying yes, they are doing good. There's enough references in the show for people who are longtime lovers of it to appreciate it. And I actually just watched an episode where they faithfully did the whole puzzle solving just right, because there's puzzle solving in these games. I'm like, okay, they know the material and they're adapting it properly. Maybe Resident Evil should have been a TV series from the beginning. Who knows?
Is it live? Is it live action?
Yes, it's live action.
Interesting. Well, I'll check it out. I liked the first Resident Evil movie, the one with Mila Jovovich.
And that did good.
I liked that movie.
Yeah, that was good. But what's fun here, you'll like it. The actor who plays Silas in Horizon is the main actor who plays Wesker in the show, so you'll like it.
Oh, yeah.
You'll like it. And
Silence.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I like his voice.
I do too.
So give it a shot.
Do they have waffle lasers that
No, not this time.
Turn you into
so far,
little
not this
bits
time.
of-
But it was the best representation I've seen of the giant spiders and the lickers in any of the shows.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it so far. Really like it. Another news article: GameStop NFT marketplace launched this week and earned over $44,000 on its opening day. And this is another topic that gets people raged up. Like you.
You're encouraging them. Whoever's doing this. So people are buying their NFTs?
Well, it's not their NFTs. They're just selling NFTs that work for the video games, because there are games on the blockchain. So it's crypto-based gaming. Which makes
games?
sense. Because, for instance, if you played Hearthstone, how much money would you say you average paid for buying your deck?
I've probably spent $200 on Hearthstone over the course of years.
Now, what can you do with that $200? Is that gone? I mean, can you sell that somewhere?
No, it's all. No.
You could sell your account, maybe.
So you're saying I could sell if I could sell the cards in some other marketplace, that would be cool.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's what this is doing, and this is what blockchain gaming is all about, and NFT gaming, because it makes sense in my opinion. And I understand why people are getting mad about NFTs and gaming when it comes to items. They shouldn't be overpriced. I agree. But say you spent $30 on a game pack, and you're like, okay, I'm done playing this game or with these cards. You want to go sell them, especially if you got a rare card. You can sell that card.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? The Diablo 3 marketplace. Yep. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. I remember. And that makes sense. And
it just turned it into garbage.
Right.
It just made everything worthless.
But the difference between the programming versus this, here's the blockchain, is that it's more open-ended and out of the actual protocol of the game itself.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I don't like it.
Yeah. So that's where it's heading. And so that's kind of like this, and it's what it should be. So don't be surprised as Hearthstone or a future version of it starts making NFTs. And it's essentially.
I'll be very surprised if Blizzard gets into that.
I mean,
although I will see. You're get bought by Microsoft.
Anytime you buy a digital item, you are buying something that is yours, but you can't sell it. So you're already in that system. Might as well make some money in the back end when you're done with it.
We'll see. We'll see.
Speaking of Hearthstone, I finally played it.
You finally played it?
Yep, I downloaded it, played it.
And you loved it.
I could see how it's addictive. I do love the user interface, like you said. It is very well thought of. Like there's the little corners that kind of are interactive, but have no determination of changing anything in the gameplay. The sand, you touch the board and it's like there's sand or whatever environment it is. That's really cool. Everything's animated, very well thought of, well presented, very well crafted, AAA crafting.
Yeah.
And you can see that the money you spend on the cards is well spent on the development of the game. So I get it. And I saw the different packages once I got through the tutorial of how much cards were.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, $60 for a starter pack? Even if it's like, this is on sale, I'm like, no, thank you. I could, if this was the one game I was going to play for the next 3 months, sure. But
what platform did you play it on?
I played it on my iPad.
So the iPad is my favorite way because it just feels good to touch.
Yeah.
I like dragging the cards out. You know, the thing about card packs, if you're going to play competitively, you got to buy card packs.
Oh, of course you do.
I mean, you don't have to. You can play with a basic deck. You just won't ever get anywhere. I'm not going to play competitively. I'm going to sit and play against a computer a few rounds. And if I had friends that were into it, like if you wanted to play it, we would play with a basic deck. We don't need card packs to do that. But what would happen is they'd want to get an edge on somebody else. They'd be like, well, I'll spend $3 on a card pack and they get some new cards. So, but yeah, Hearthstone is very upselly. I mean, you get in there. I hadn't logged in probably in 2 years, and I had to tap through, 30 different modals that are like, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, try this. Jeez, the single player mode against the AI is buried down in like 3 levels of menus. But I've had a nice time this week sitting on the back porch playing Hearthstone.
Yeah, I like it. It's simple because it's nice. It's got that strategy where you have to build up your mana every round and then pick your cards properly, and each card does a different thing. It's complex yet simple enough in presentation, and that's the sweet spot when it comes to these things, I think, because you can be overcomplicated and just lose everybody in general. Yeah,
it's got really subtle and interesting card synergies that, like, you see a card, it looks useless, like the Leroy Jenkins card appears to be useless.
Jenkins.
And, that's what I'm kind of missing in Roguebook. Roguebook's, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've been playing on my Switch, but I'm not getting the card synergies. And maybe I don't have the right cards yet, but I'm not getting that really clever card synergy where I'm like, I'm the smartest man alive. No one's ever thought of this strategy.
Gotcha.
I'd like a little bit more of that out of Roguebook.
Well, and I guess the difference is, it's random what you get per run. And actually, I love playing Roguebook. That's the other game I played this week. And I loved it. And I'm glad I played Slay the Spire first, because I feel like I learned a lot of it seemed to copy the same like attacks and strategies from the cards in that game into this game. So it was very easy to pick up with the cards and know how to use them. The thing I had to start learning was the combo system and relying on the 2 heroes you pick as, because that's in Roguebook you pick two heroes to go with you around as you're adventuring and discovering this book you're entrapped in. And you use, and as you go through, you get different pages to upgrade your next round, which I really did like. So I can upgrade more health for my characters. You instead of having basic cards, you can upgrade to having more diverse cards instead of just the basic attack, which is nice for another round. Because I finally beat it, the main story, the quote unquote main story, the final boss. So I could unlock it, and I really like it. It's slower paced than Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is very like arcadey, kind of go through a little bit more quickly.
Yeah.
In this one, it's very well drawn, well animated, voice acted. Well, it's not like the best voice acting, but I'm just saying that the voices are nice, and I like it. It's a nice. I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. I just realized I played another game. I got to talk about a couple more things.
Yeah.
I'm trying really hard to stop playing Captain of Industry. I'm probably, I don't even want to know. I may be 140 hours in, but like, I'm literally, this is true. I am naming my save games things like, I'm really done this time. I'm not coming back. This is it.
Cries for help in your save data.
Yeah, I'll walk away, and then I'll wake up in the next morning and I'll think, I really could optimize that diesel chain I've got over there because I know there's some inefficiency there. And I'll just get on and I'll just do it. And then 3 hours later, I'm like, still working on it.
Just one more
level. I got
level.
up this morning, worked on it.
Just one more level.
I want to mention a couple things that I've played. Have you seen Cult of the Lamb?
I think I've heard of it, but what is that about?
So Cult of the Lamb is it has rogue elements. It has like city building elements, but it's got this real cute lamb. It's got this cute cartoony lamb that becomes like, I don't know how to describe it, a servant of this dark Cthulhu-like creature, and he has to create followers and create this cult. It's got what's the game? The combat system, very dodge-heavy combat system, like, I'm drawing a blank on the name. Anyway, it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
But it's a demo. So I played the demo, and I was like, I'll try this out. I've been wanting to try it for a couple of weeks. I started playing it, and right as I was like starting to get it, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to do another couple runs and get this for my cult and upgrade my area. It's like, thank you for trying the demo, and cut me off.
Oh,
so
that's horrible.
I think it comes out really soon. But yeah, it looks great. I can't wait for that one. I was really interested in it. Dune Spice Wars. You told me that you like Dune.
Yes.
I think you mean the new Dune. Which Dune
I
favorite?
loved the more, I guess, faithful adaptation of Dune that came out, and I loved the David Lynch version of Dune when that was there. And then there's a great documentary about the guy who had the rights to Dune first.
Yeah.
And how trippy his version was. And I loved that idea too. So I'm a big Dune fan. And I played Dune 2000, which was a Westwood Studio real-time strategy game.
RTS.
Which took all the design and costumes and world that David Lynch had. And I enjoyed that game because it was very much Command and Conquer, but Dune.
Well, this game is very much in the universe of the new Dunes.
Sweet.
So like the ornithopters look like little dragonflies, like the ornithopters in the game or in the movie. This is a deep and complex game. It's a lot, and right now my brain can't handle another really complex top-down game like that. So I'm gonna at some point I'm gonna finish Captain of Industry, and I'm gonna go back to Dune Spice Wars. But it's got, what's interesting about it is it's not combat heavy like an RTS typically is. There is combat, there is expansion and base building, but there's a real heavy diplomacy, and there's a spy network, and you can run for speaker of the hegemony, and like you got to pay your taxes to the empire. I mean, there's all that going on behind the scenes,
right?
And I don't know if I'm gonna like that or not, but I'm gonna spend some more time with it.
I guess when does a game get too complex? It's too simulator that it's kind of a downer,
right?
That's what turns me off.
Because in an RTS, I want to build units. I want to see those units go off and fight other things. And
Mhm.
there's not so much of that. Everything's happening. It's invisible behind the scenes, right?
Well, you like to have the strategy of like, okay, I'm going to mine over here and wait to spend my money on this or these resources. And like, here's my strategy for building, real-time strategy versus I have to play politics the entire time.
Right. So like you're playing against someone who's going to play as the Harkonnens, and they're very military heavy, and you play as House Atreides, and they're very diplomacy heavy. And so you're both building up your bases, and Atreides like plays the political game, and all of a sudden you're playing as Harkonnen, and all of your stuff costs twice as much because they've screwed you in the Galactic Council or whatever. And I don't know. I mean, that's a game.
Hey, that works, I guess. Yeah. It's very more, Huh. Interesting.
Is that fun to play, though? I don't know.
I don't know if the payoff feels good. I guess. Like, haha, I spent 3 hours building up this treaty just to screw you over, and you'll spend all your money trying to destroy everything. Yeah. Meh.
I'm not making a judgment yet. That's just kind of a quick impression, but we'll see. I'll spend some more time with it.
Anything good recently?
I started watching Players on Paramount Plus. This is a documentary about League of Legends esports and about a particular team.
Oh.
I just started watching the first episode. I don't know anything about League of Legends, but I really like the esports scene, and they're kind of capturing the personal drama between people, and it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to keep watching it.
Okay. Well, it's funny you say that. Amazon just released a movie about esports players called 8-Bit, but it's like about a full all-female team. I don't know if it's based on real life or not, but Ruby Rose is in it, and I was like, okay. Is this? It's like supposed to be like a comedy, I guess, but it's funny that there's a show about esports as a documentary, and then here's this movie about esports, and I'm curious to see how they do well and how it pans out in the real world.
I wonder if it's good. Yeah.
Well, I have to watch it for 30 minutes and say yay or nay. And we already talked about Resident Evil because that was the other thing I watched this week. Jurassic World Dominion. Have you seen it yet?
Yes.
Okay. I went ahead. It has like early access on Amazon where you can rent it or buy it. So I finally watched it. What did you think?
If you go to let's say you go to Six Flags and ride a big roller coaster, you're not looking for deep truths, and you're looking for a good time.
Right. Yes.
It was a big, dumb movie, and I had a great time watching it. It has a lot of problems. There's a lot of eye-rolling moments in it. But it's a good time. It's a spectacle.
Here's the problem. It should not have been called Jurassic anything. It shouldn't have been a Jurassic movie. It should have been called Dino Crisis. It should have been.
But they have to bring in Dr. Grant and all of the original characters, and they even showed the Barbasol can sitting on someone's desk. It's like, we know.
But it for this,
in fact, the people watching this that recognize that can are super old. Like.
Well, and it was too much of it. The payoff took too long to get to, in my opinion. And maybe it costs too much to have all those actors on set at the same time.
Yeah.
And what it came to be was, okay, I like the little banter back and forth, and it's definitely for the fans. But then every time they were stopped for a dinosaur, they all had to line up in a perfect line. It's like they had to show, someone on set was like, you need to make sure everybody's is on equal level on the same time. And that was a little annoying. But it took too long to get them all together.
After I watched this movie, I went back and watched the first Jurassic Park, and I think I told you about it because that one's just so pure.
Yes,
it's a monster movie. I think I told you that watching the kids, that scene with the T-Rex and the kids in the car. I've seen this movie a dozen times, and I'm sitting there clenched up, just worried about those kids because it's so tense. It's so expertly done.
Oh yeah,
Jurassic World Dominion had none of that tension.
No, it didn't, and it's supposed to be action. I get it. Yeah, not to spoil it, but it felt like it became a Taken movie. But then just a whole other the X-Files movie too. It was too many layers. It didn't know what it wanted to be, and that's its problem.
I'm gonna give you this hot take. It was like a Taken movie in that everyone has a very special set of skills, and those skills are knowing the names of very specific dinosaurs. Like, you see this dinosaur you've never seen before, and they're like, what is that? And they're like, well, that's a such Opteryx. I'm like, what is this really the time? What difference does it make what it's called? It's about to eat us.
Right. It's a Gallimimus. Just, yeah.
Or they just get more and more obscure because they're like, this dinosaur has feathers. I don't care about that. I care about...
Yeah, that was interesting. It was pretty cool. That was like the raptor with the long claws. That was kind of cool. But
yeah,
it was like, okay, we're just... let's just make it extinct now. I'm okay. We're done.
Huh. They don't need to make any other ones. That's for sure.
Don't.
They will.
They have the kids show on Netflix they need to kill. But I feel like we're at, what a critical mass. We need to stop. Stop it already. Stop. Just stop it.
Speaking of stop, I'm ready to talk about our topic of the day. I've been looking forward to this all week.
All right. And what is our topic of the day?
This little girl survived longer than that with no weapons and no training. Right?
Why don't you put her in charge?
Why don't you put her in charge?
Oh, we love that movie.
One of the greatest scenes from one of the greatest movies, the greatest movie ever made, Aliens.
James Cameron's Aliens with Sigourney Weaver herself. All right, we're going to talk about female protagonists today. And if you want to include your thoughts and ideas on a favorite female protagonist in a video game for yourself or why you play as one, send us an email at emails@pausebuttongaming.com.
Yeah, we're talking today about female game protagonists because you and I were talking. We both, and I don't think I knew this about you, we always play as females given the choice in games. And I actually don't know anybody else that does that. And I've played with friends before, and they're like, you're playing as a girl. I'm like, yeah, I know that since I chose this character.
Right.
So it's like it doesn't occur to some other people. So I found that interesting that we both thought that. So let's explore that. Let's talk about
well,
why.
the first thing that comes to mind, it's your avatar. Especially when you have the choice to make a character. The whole general thing, you're supposed to make a character that looks like you or a better version of you. That's that first thing everyone does, correct? Wouldn't you agree?
Right.
Yeah. So the question you have to ask is, why would we pick a female protagonist? I will say that being an adolescent youth, I liked it because it was more appealing visually. That's where I started. Besides also liking characters like Ellen Ripley, someone that's badass, easy on the eyes.
Right.
And there's so many other games with a male protagonist that's like, let's be a girl. And it's fine, and there's nothing wrong with it. So that's the reason why I pick female protagonists. What about you? Where did you start, I guess?
I think I've been choosing female characters since they started offering them. But for me, it's more about, it's more interesting. Video games are, in most of them, inherently about conflict, mostly about physical conflict. So characters, especially in the late 90s and early 2000s, characters tended to be men. They tended to be very strong physically. They tend to be strong in personality. And you have a female character, and a female character has to be different. Maybe a female character is strong, but maybe she's fast.
Yeah.
She has to overcome more because she may be physically smaller or physically weaker. And so it's more interesting to me to see a character having to grapple with something that's more difficult, whereas a man is just like, here's a dude and he punches hard.
Yeah.
And I found that more interesting.
Yeah, and it was never the sense of I want this female character because I have to protect her, because that comes out like even in the real world. I think when it comes to someone who's like, say, if there was a girl playing football, well, the guys would feel like they have to protect her the whole time.
Yeah,
is kind of an argument I've heard before. I've never felt that way because they're badass themselves. They're my character. They're going to protect themselves. Essentially, they're just the avatar I'm picking.
Yeah. Look at Ellen Ripley in the movie Aliens. I mean, I watched this movie when I was 12, and I think it was very formative for me. If you look at her, here she's going back in when she starts the movie, she's already been through the first Alien movie, right? And they start the movie off talking about how she's so traumatized. She's waking up, from having nightmares and imagining what happened on the Nostromo. And they talk her into going back and facing her fears, right?
Yeah.
And they say, but you're going to be protected by these macho Space Marines. And what happens? The Space Marines flake out.
Yep.
And she ends up becoming the leader.
Yep.
And solving the problem, not because she's stronger or has better weapons or anything like that, just because of her sheer determination, her intelligence. And that's why this scene, this guy, when she's talking to it's Hudson.
Bill Paxton's character.
It's Hudson. Yeah, when she's talking to Hudson, and Hudson he's like, all he has is his strength and his weapons. And when those fail him, he doesn't know what to do. And so that she's kind of the archetype for a good, strong female protagonist. And she's the reason why I always choose a woman like in Assassin's Creed. I really like Eivor. I like the way they play her.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with going back to Ellen Ripley being a big staple for our choices, I guess, is that it's being a female character showed it was okay to be emotional and be strong.
Yeah. Did you ever see Heavy Metal, the animated?
Yes.
Did you ever play Heavy Metal, the game?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you should look at the video link. I played Heavy Metal, the game, back when, I don't know, what was this? Oh, it was 2000. And if you click on that link to the Wikipedia article, you can see a picture of her. She's very, very sexualized, and she's running around in the game. The game was awesome. She was running around in the game in essentially a thong.
Yeah.
And that was very typical of the time. If there was a female in a game, they were almost certainly. I mean, look at Lara Croft.
Right.
Did you play the reinvention of the Tomb Raider games when they remade that?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example of what has happened in the game industry. And I think, the game industry finally caught on. And it was that whole, and I guess there's two things here. The mythos, even back in the 90s when we started getting polygons, that only teenage boys played video games. It seems like there's more girls that play video games.
Yeah.
Or just as much. And they'd still want to play Lara Croft. But Lara Croft, when she came out, big boobs, big polygonal boobs. Yeah. And short shorts. And it was always that whole thing about seeing her naked possibly by typing in a cheat was always the rumor. Yeah. And it's like, male teens are going to be more attracted to that. But it was never anything I would say for her. Well, she was pretty bad A with the gun, so it was kind of like best of both worlds. So they thought, okay, sexual and badass, done. But that has changed, where you don't have to be sexualized, or the female characters.
There's still plenty of that, particularly in anime style games. Final Fantasy games still do that quite a bit. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. There's some really bad ones in my poor taste. Like it's like Uchiban Samurai Zombie Killer. Like basically just these ladies with cowboy hats and thongs and bikinis, but giant swords. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
that's you're just you're going too extreme, and you're not helping out the case here. But yeah, teenage boys will play that. Dead or Alive.
Look at
Beach Ball.
We were talking about Quiet the other day from Beach, that volleyball one. Yeah, we're talking about Quiet and how it annoys me that they have a character that's like her clothes are all ripped up. It's just an excuse to show, this person without any clothes on, and they have this reason why she has to breathe through her skin or whatever. And I'm not getting on my high horse about scantily clad characters. That's fine. If that's what you want in your game, I have no problem with that at all. But to me, I like realism in games. Give me a badass sniper character who's a woman, who's got a great backstory.
Sniper Wolf.
She's got something she's overcome in her past, and she's studied being a sniper her whole life, and she's a badass sniper. Give me that. Yeah. I don't need all that. Yes. All that other stuff.
Sniper Wolf from the first Metal Gear Solid. That was her spot on. I loved Sniper Wolf.
Oh.
She was such a cool character.
They decided they needed to take her clothes off at some point.
Yeah, I guess. But it's just, and that's something I would say is very Japanese culture. At this point, it's like it's still on there, the whole nudie, like barely nudie, which it's over here. It's calmed down a lot more because we had like Blood Rain, Lara Croft, and other characters, I guess you could say, that were very Cammy. I think is finally put on pants in the Street Fighter games.
Yeah.
But and that's from Japan to today. But the game industry has matured, which is good, and it needed to. But just like the people who played them have matured, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think this is why I'm thinking about my two favorite female characters, and I landed on Aloy and then Jessie Faden from Control, and they're my favorite because they're believable. They don't sexualize them at all.
No, they don't. I was about to say that. Yeah, they're not sexualized.
Which, to me, again, I'm not getting on my high horse about sexualizing any characters, men or women. But to me, like, if you're playing a game about someone who's fighting mechanical dinosaurs and they're wearing a thong, I'm sorry. You're telling me as a player, hey, you're playing a game. You're taking me out of the game.
Right.
And I found those two, the way they behave is very believable. The way they look is believable. They're strong characters. They happen to be women. But they're both women in a physical combat scenario that are overcoming because of intelligence and cunning and speed. So I think they're my two favorite. Yeah,
and you didn't have to sexualize them to make them likable or playable, and that's so important. I think, just like a Cat from Halo Reach, she was the one Spartan without an arm. She was like my favorite because she was so badass. Because it's like, even if she doesn't have that arm, she's still kicking more ass than you are. And that's funny. That's another game.
You don't even know that there are men and women. You can hardly tell that there are female versus male.
Yeah, because their armor. Yeah, because armor. And that's something that always irks me when it comes to a game where it's like, well, here's an armor. Like Demon's Souls remake made it so, well, you can't wear the male armor because you're a girl. I'm like, really? We're going to do that? Just like when it comes to character creation in games, female characters get the makeup ability, but usually the men, it's turned off. I'm like, why? What if I want the male character with some eyeshadow? You're going to take that away from me? And that's annoying. And it's just like, and whenever I do it, I usually stay away from makeup on my female characters because I'm like, look, no, they don't need to have that gender labeling. And I feel like we don't need to do that.
It's so obvious that men are making these games, and they're finally cluing in, doing some of these things.
And it's great. It's like, if you're going to make this and they finally did that. What was it? I think in Elden Ring, they kind of made it so it didn't really matter gender wise.
Yeah.
For anything, which was like, thank you. You can add the makeup and scars for whoever you want. Because I liked putting scars on my characters if I could.
I never do that.
For my female character. No, I like it because it shows that they're kind of more, they're tough, but they're still pretty. Like pretty tough. Not, you're pretty tough, but they're attractive and tough at the same time. And they don't have to be ugly, and they don't have to be the prettiest looking goddess either, but this is my female character. They're going to show that they've been through some stuff.
Who's your favorite female character?
That's a tough one. Oh god, I'm going to have to think about that. Well, I'll tell you at the end because I have to think about it because I don't know if
then
besides my femme shep, because I've always had a female shepherd. Mass Effect.
Me too.
She's been badass, voiced by Jennifer Hale. So like anytime I see any footage of someone playing Mass Effect with the male shepherd, it's really weird because I've never played Mass Effect without anyone but femme shep, and I'm like, always femme shep with red hair. And that's always it's funny. There are staples, and maybe we should talk about that first. The staples we have for our female characters when you get to create your avatar. I always call mine Amelia, and usually go for redhead.
Why Amelia? Where's that name come from?
Redhead. Well, I don't know. I did write a script for a fantasy movie, and the main character was named Amelia. It was called The Iron Princess. It was a fantasy script, and and this is what I liked about it, is that she's a princess who goes on a journey, and the thing about her is that she's trapped in a magical suit of armor. And the suit of armor is not feminine; it's just normal armor because people mistake her for a little young knight. But she can't take it off. Her full face is covered. She can see out. She's got a little eye slit, and that's all. It's just think of a Dark Souls character, but trapped in the armor, so she can't get out of it. So I always took that character I created for a script and took that name and applied it to all my characters. So it's always Amelia.
Okay. I always use Arketh. Mainly because it's just an awesome sounding name, but it is a female character from a trilogy of novels by Richard Morgan called The Steel Remain. She's kind of like kind of like an elf character.
Yeah.
In his world, the elves have black skin, the dark skin, and they're like the engineers of this fantasy world. And she's like super smart, awesome fighter. She has 4 swords she carries on her that all have different names.
Ooh, nice.
She's a really, really sweet character, but I always use that name. It's a cool sounding name. Arketh.
Yeah, that is really cool. So yeah, we have our those things that we like about them, and I guess the appeal. I like having Geralt. I love that as a male character. I love Kratos, and that's part of it. It's just having a good character. And like, okay, for me, I want to have a good female character.
A female Witcher. I mean, Geralt was great. I mean, his voice, everything about Geralt was great. But I would be intrigued to see a female version of Geralt.
Yeah, we get Ciri.
Tough and gritty in the way that Geralt is,
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. I think we'll get that with Witcher 4. At least I hope what they're doing is that we get Ciri as it. But I guess that's my question is it still sexist or sexualized if we're like making my female character appealing to me, but it's not from a sexual sense. It's just like I kind of like looking at it because you have to stare at your avatar the whole time.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you this. I almost, if given the choice in a character builder, I always make a female with blonde hair and blue eyes. Okay. But I usually pick the smallest body frame.
Yeah.
So even if that's a dude, just because I like characters that are nimble, I like to play like thieves and assassins and range characters. That really has nothing to do with how it looks. I pick those even when I can't see the character. I usually can't see their body. And if you look at like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you're watching a female character's body, but it's not that different from the man.
Right.
It's not voluptuous. It's not scantily clad.
Yeah. And I get annoyed when if there's a different animation where, say, like the walk animation versus run, like they do a hip sway for the women, which I'm like, okay, I don't see that many women do that naturally. There are some people that don't
overdo it.
But there's some people that do overdo it. And I like the Quarry, for instance, if you were looking for, I always like to see what kind of mocap animations they do. And they did that a lot for the female characters. Like they're just walking and there's this huge hip sway.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, why did we do that? It's like, that's so unnecessary.
Play it up, those male fans.
But granted, it's supposed, they're trying to sexualize the teenage characters, and I get it, that's for the story, but it's like, all right, you went a little overboard. But yeah, no, kind of, I make mine a little bit more beefy, I guess, because I like to be a melee, even though I do a lot more magic, it seems nowadays, and something like in Elden Ring, because I like being away from the danger. But kind of beefy.
Speaking of beefy, can we talk about the real controversy here with female characters, which is Abby's arms?
You are the only one who has that beef, in my opinion.
Did I say I had a beef with it?
Oh no, do you?
I do have a beef with it. I do. And people like, why are people even talking about it?
We're talking about Abby from Last of Us Part 2, everybody, in case you didn't pick up.
I am. That's who I'm talking about. And my only issue with her arms is they don't, I've never seen a woman with arms that look like that. Even like bodybuilders don't have arms that look like that. It looks like they took a male character's arms, took the model, and put them on this character. It takes me out of the game. I don't understand why they made her so strong. Well, so visually strong, and Ellie so visually weak. Ellie is like so little and skinny, and then she is murdering dudes like crazy. I mean, she is running up and just brutally killing dudes. And you look at her body and you're like, there's no way she can overpower those zombies or those human dudes. No way. Well, and is it some juxtaposition? Is that why they made Abby so physically strong?
I think so. But actually, it goes into a theory that I have about Ellie. And that might be a little off topic. Okay. Which, Ellie, I think we could agree is both one of our favorite female characters. Especially with Last of Us Part 2. I was put off by Abby's big arms at first because it was like, whoa, she's got really big arms. But then I got used to it, and I understand why she's so laser focused on getting revenge for, and spoilers, everybody, just skip ahead if you haven't played Last of Us Part 2. For revenge of her father's death. That she's just, wanting to get strong. It's like she feels like she has to be strong or something to survive.
Yeah.
Like physically instead of just internally.
She's definitely, yeah. But she also, so Ellie starts off in the first as a child, right?
Yeah,
And so you're
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, there's this child. And then she grows up and then she's attacking dudes and killing dudes. And you're like, that's cool because she's this little kid and now she's a young woman and she's not physically strong, but she's very cunning. Where you got Abby, you look at her and she's like, oh, she could kill people. But they explore her vulnerability in the story, about how hurt she is over, is there her father that died? Ellie killed her father, right? Yeah.
Joel did.
Or Ellie's dad killed her father.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you explore that and you really get to see, oh, this person who's so strong actually has these wounds that they're carrying around. And,
Right.
I still think just tone the arms down a bit, but that ship has sailed.
Right. Well, and here's my thing with Ellie. This is a little off topic, but I think since we're talking about characters, I think she's a mutant now. If you think about it, she's survived the infection.
Getting bitten.
She's been bitten. She survived infection. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of her aggression and maybe some superhuman ability or pushing her human limits comes from the cordyceps in her body.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm throwing? You catch what I'm throwing?
Right, yeah, I get that.
So that's why she's so nimble and quick. She's not human anymore. She's the next step. Which, speaking of which, if you've ever, don't watch the movie, but read the book, The Girl with All the Gifts is the perfect.
Yeah, I have read it.
That is like the perfect book to accompany playing The Last of Us, in my opinion.
I don't like your theory because it takes away from her, like, her own accomplishment. Like, she's become this killer because of her desire for survival or revenge or whatever. But then you say, well, she has these powers because was infected. Well, okay. I mean, I'd rather just believe that she's awesome.
That's fine. And it could be a slow birthing, but she is pretty awesome. I mean, she does a lot of badass stuff in the game.
Yeah,
and she's never.
And I'll tell you what they did really good with that game is when the first few times that you attack, an adult man who's much bigger than you, it feels desperate. It feels like you don't know if she's going to survive this. And that's why her attacks are so brutal, because if you're going to take down someone that's so much bigger than you, you need to be brutal and fast, and she is. Right,
and that's so important. And she's also what makes her a great character, she's not sexualized. Even though she's lesbian, she has a relationship with a girlfriend that she is in love with, and they're so cute together. And that's never like sexualized, like, oh, here's a whole scene just for those, horny males out there. No, it's a beautiful relationship that they develop. And you can tell when that's played and not played in these games. And especially when it comes to
they did a fantastic job there.
Relationships, like for Mass Effect, as my female character, I'd usually go after the female aliens or other counterparts just because that's how it is. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go after the dude, but I would if the character seemed interesting. Does that make sense? Because we're role playing, and it's like, okay, this is a cool character. Yeah, they'll have that relationship, and that's part of your control of your RPG. You do that. That's one thing. And then, like in Cyberpunk, I was actually pissed. As a female V, I couldn't have a relationship with the chick that was part of the Nomads. What's her name?
You couldn't? I thought they let you do that.
Unless there's a patch now. But they wouldn't let me do that, so I went with the hacker chick, who she was really cool, and I liked her. But I liked the Nomads leader a lot better. And I was I was just hoping to get that fire kindling, but they wouldn't let it. I'm like, really? You're going to limit me here? Psh,
yeah,
thanks.
I kept trying to get with her, and she kept rejecting me.
Yeah, so I was like, whatever, dude. But that's how it is, and it's not like, ooh, two girls kissing. No, that's my character. Jeez. Just like what else? When we have a female character that happens to like another male character, like with when you play as Abby, she's going after her beau, and that's how it is. And it's like, all right, great for them. Even if it was like two guys, that'd be like the same thing. Like, oh, that's so nice of them to get together.
Yeah, it's funny when there are romance mechanics in a game, like Mass Effect's a good one. I usually do them just because I know the goal is to have sex with a character. Like that's the I feel like that. I feel like they're giving me a side quest,
right?
And I have to complete it. I don't really care if it's a man, woman, alien, whatever. Like, if you're going to say, "Hey, you can have sex with this character," I'm going to be like, "All right, what dialogue paths do I need to choose?"
Right. Well, and it's the romancing that's part of your character. So that's the question: are you too focused on the end of the world to do some romancing, or is there a character you're like, okay, we're going to do this? Like with Geralt, I go after Triss as Geralt all the time.
Oh, see, I knew there was going to be a unicorn scene in there, and I was like, we're getting to that unicorn scene for sure.
With Yennefer, yeah. Well,
yeah.
I never did.
Yeah, it's so great when you go into like a brothel and avail yourself of their services. The cut scenes are just the best.
See, I never
They're
did
great.
that. I was always pretty faithful
you didn't?
as Geralt. As Geralt, I was always faithful.
Oh no.
Yep, I was pretty faithful. Yep, no, that's how it was.
They're as graphic as they can be without just becoming straight up porn. Well, did you play the first Witcher games?
No, not the first two. No.
Okay, in the first two Witcher games, the first two Witcher games were top-down games, okay? And romancing, which is a term I'll use loosely, was a big mechanic in the game. Basically, when you would find a female, not character, I guess they were characters, they weren't playable. Your goal was to get with them, and when you did, you collected their card. So having sex with female characters was a game mechanic, and you collected their card like a. Jeez. Yeah, it was very. They couldn't do that now. It's a little too.
Yeah, that's a little like
much, but
notch on the belt type thing. Like, we're just gonna.
Very much so. Very notch in the belt.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But yeah, so they toned that down a little bit. But that's always been in the DNA of The Witcher.
Mm-hmm. No, but yeah, no, but so here, that's a good positioning. So from that male protagonist, male perspective, they force that. And I think that's maybe the appeal. It's like they force, like, the romance relationship kind of is pushed a little bit harder, maybe, versus when you're the female, it's not pushed unless it's like already established, or you have the choice to do it, but it's not pushed. Does it make sense?
Right. It's seen more as a thing between equals, maybe. Yeah.
Well, like, and I loved it. It was, well, I mean, I guess you can't control on everybody, but in the Quarry, you could have kissed, I forget his name now. But it's like between Dylan and the other crush. I think it's Mark that has. And you can either go with Dylan or go with the Asian chick. And it's, you have the choice. You don't have to be forced on either one. And it never makes it awkward, the whole thing, where they bash each other for their sexual orientation. And I appreciate that a lot more. And it doesn't feel force-fed like, oh, we have to be, the hot word of woke or wokeism, when it's very fluid within the game and storytelling. And I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other characters you want to talk about?
I mean, we've got a nice list. I guess what we talked about, what we like about female characters, what we've played, why we play. I mean, it's a nice thing for me, it's nice to not have a character and to play as a character and not have it sexualized. Like, the reason why I'm playing a game is not for the sexualization of my character, but like your Kratos in the first couple God of War, there's he's got like his female whores at one point, okay, and then there's jokes with Duke Nukem, because it's Duke Nukem, they make those kind of jokes, but then everything matures. You either stay back in your leisure suit Larry, and that's what you are. Just like there's plenty of those kind of games out now, still, for like I see a lot from the Nintendo DS where it's the dating sims or a little bit more pervy, especially on Steam, and that's fine. That is a genre on its own, and I think that's what's kind of happened. And then you have your characters that are female, and they don't necessarily have to be sexualized. They can still be attractive. Or just, kind of plain. Like, I would say Heather Mason from Silent Hill 3. She's not like she's not your typical Japanese female protagonist with, huge breasts and skimpy clothes. She is wearing a skirt, but it's not like a short skirt. She is a character that you play as, and it's pretty horrifying in that game. Because she goes through a bit of her harboring like a god in her stomach, so she's like going to birth it as the mother, and that's horrifying. I think, and that really
that's
changes the perspective when you're a female character and you're also carrying another life. It's like, oh shit, that's even double horrifying. And that
go back to Aliens.
Yeah, well, and then what was it? It was in the recent Amnesia game, and that's not on here. You're a female character, and you are pregnant, and to me, that's like, oh crap, because then not only are you trying to worry about your own life, but the life of your child. And as time goes in the game, time skips because you're dealing with time travel and going through dimensions, and so all of a sudden you're like really pregnant. I'm like, wow, this is a really cool mechanic. For being me, a male, I can't experience that in real life. So going through it in the game adds more peril to it, in my opinion.
I'm looking forward to Silksong, as a lot of people are, and I think the difference between the little bug from the first game, oh shoot, what's it called? He's got a sword, Hollow Knight. He's got a sword, and he smacks things with his sword. Whereas Hornet was a character in that game. She was a boss that you had to fight.
Yeah,
and she's a bug, so and she's not even human, but she's got not a little skirt. She's like got what's clearly a dress, and she fights with what looks like a sewing needle. And she's very acrobatic, and she can throw that needle out on a piece of silk and pull it back. And the new game, when we've seen previews of it, the combat's very acrobatic, and that's the part I'm really looking forward to.
Let's see, like Jill Valentine, Claire Redfield from Resident Evil. I've liked those characters, and I liked how in the remakes they actually desexualized them, like how Lara Croft was desexualized from the original Tomb Raider into the modern one that came out. What was that, 2013, 14? Trying to remember when that one came out. But it's like modernized it, and just there's a woman. They don't have to wear scantile clothes, and they're still in these perilous situations and making through it, and they're not sitting there crying, which is important.
Yeah. Did you ever play No One Lives Forever?
No, I did not.
So Kate Archer, this is a first-person shooter, a great game, fantastic shooter. But Kate Archer's sexy. She's got this low-cut, kind of bodysuit on, but she's also playing a game that's very much tongue-in-cheek in the vein of the '60s. She got the '60s haircut, and it worked. I don't think it was overly. It definitely wasn't overly sexualized. You can even see her while you're playing.
Yeah.
But that was a character that worked because of the '60s element, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then Joanna Dark in Perfect Dark. Spot on character. She was pretty cool. She I guess she was in the borderline of that. She had a tight fitting like stealth suit, as it were, sneak suit, tech suit. But she wasn't like sexualized or put into weird situations, and she was always really cool. Lots of gunplay, because it was from the creators that did GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. Here comes Perfect Dark, and she was badass, kicking so much human and alien ass. Woo!
I like what they've done with the new Chun-Li in the new Street Fighter games.
Yeah.
Chun-Li was great before. She had those real strong legs and strong leg kicks, and the new one just looks a little less like a child, less sexualized. Again, they're going for this is a fighter. This is combat, and I like what the direction they went with that.
Yeah, and because you don't have to have a fighter in skimpy clothing. I think they'll keep doing that, like in Mortal Kombat with like Melina and Katana. It's like, okay, they're in somewhat very loose, or not loose, very tight fitting clothing, and that's kind of the appeal. It's not. It's supposed to be for the spectacle, and that makes sense. But then you have like. I guess here's a good question. Bayonetta, and then you have Juliet Starling, which is from a game called Lollipop Chainsaw, which I wish they would remake or be easier accessible nowadays. Because Juliet Starling is in like a cheerleader uniform, and she's kind of looks like the typical ditzy blonde hair high schooler. But then she's got a giant chainsaw, and she kills all these zombies, which is cool. And you have Bayonetta, who is very tight clothing, which is actually her hair, but kicking a lot of angel demon ass as well. So it's like they're doing cool stuff and they're being sexual, but at the same time they're supposed to be not taken seriously. And it's actually to the point where Bayonetta, the third one, which was just got announced, will actually have an option so she's not naked during some of her animations and attacks, which is a good step forward, I think. And it's kind of like, okay, you know, you can have a badass character and be sexualized. I get it, but at the same time, I feel like that it can exist still and still have a character you like, and that's part of the thing. I think having that character pop up again in like Lara Croft, no, I don't think that works.
I was just listening to a podcast with these 3 women gamers, and they were talking about Bayonetta and how much they like her because she has, even though she's, you know, mostly naked, there's a story reason for it, but also she has a lot of agency over her own body, I guess, and that's fine. My issue with it is too. I'm just not into that style of game. It really has nothing to do with the character,
right? I think that's important. Yeah, if we get it to the point where it's not just a writer or game designer saying, "Oh, she dresses that way because she wants to," but you kind of feel that that's her character and she chose to be this way. That's more acceptable, I think. And from the storytelling perspective and accepting it, I think that's a lot better than just like, oh, we're just going to make her scantily clad. Like Jessie Fadden, she, you know, she's attractive, but she's not like in crazy sexual pain. She's like in a partial suit. What kind of
jeans?
Jeans.
She never shows her midriff, which if you're the CEO of the company or whatever, the director, you don't need walking around with your midriff showing.
No, well, and that's funny. Like one of the Hearthstone character you start off with, she's got plate armor on, but you know it's curved to her breasts. And then I see midriff. I'm like, really? Mm-hmm. We went with this design, and then I saw a post somewhere, and I wish I could find it again. But it made one of my favorite things, which I'm all about, and this part goes back to my character that I wrote and created for my script of how with Brianna Tarth. And also in Star Wars Force Awakens with
Brianna's a great character.
With that same actor's stormtrooper character. It's a woman in a suit of armor, but we don't have to see breasts in that armor. It is just armor. It is there to protect. And I think that's important. And it should happen more often. And it's like, okay, let's make it seem normal and practical and get past, boobs from the male perspective. Because to me, that's a distraction from the story, unless it's part of the story. All right, so we've talked about our female protagonist, what we play as, and what we prefer. But let's talk about our favorite one. I guess. Oh yeah, we talked about this. I need to come up with my favorite one. Who's your favorite again?
My favorite is Aloy, and she's my favorite because she's in a physical combat scenario. She's never sexualized, but she also has to use her brain to overcome some of her obstacles. She's determined. She's a leader, and she's just awesome.
Yeah, you're right. And I guess Femshep is my favorite.
Okay,
just that's one of my choosing, and I made her, and she's made some badass things happen. Even if the whole Mass Effect trilogy ends on, you know, the worst, really weird way, but I think she's still one of my favorite female protagonists. All right. Thanks for listening to Pause Button. Like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube and on the Apple Podcast Store.
And send us your thoughts, ideas, and reactions to emails at pausebuttongaming.com. Have a great week. And don't forget, when life gets hectic, sometimes you need to hit the pause button.